Hey everybody, Terry the real estate guy. Really important. Don't buy a house that has these problems. There are 5 common homebuyer mistakes I want you to talk about and I want you to avoid. Okay, let's talk about them. Let's dive right in. 1, steep driveways. Steep driveways can be a problem depending on the market that you're in. So what I mean by a steep driveway is kind of something that's got, 6, 8, 10% grade to it or higher. And it fails what I call the car door test. What is the car door test? Well, when you park on a hill and you open up the car door and the door wants to kind of fall on your leg, that's the car door test. Now, I realize in some parts of the country, you have steep driveways. It's very commonplace. For example, I have a friend that lives in Pittsburgh, and there's lots of steep driveways in Pittsburgh. I live in the kind of the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, in Carolinas, Georgia, the southeastern United States there, and we have steep driveways. Not all steep driveways are bad. If you're buying a mountain house, you're going to have a steep driveway more than likely, right? Or something's going to be steep getting to the mountain house. And then you've got all these beautiful views. I'm not talking about that necessarily. You've got driveways that are kind of steep, maybe, and then they level out at the top. And when they level out at the top, you've got this really beautiful backyard, flat, level, all that good stuff, right? That can compensate for the steepness of the actual driveway itself. But the ones that are just like this, and then if you go into a garage, that's the only part that flattens out. Then in a normal market, that's going to be a discount of 5 to 10% off the price of the house. Why? Because a lot of people won't buy the property because of that steep driveway. And why is that? That's because their agent told them not to. Okay. Number 2, power lines, railroad tracks, easement, drainage areas, whatever you want to call it, swamps. Let's talk about those for a second. Railroad tracks. There's a fine line between being woken up in the middle of the night with your fillings coming loose and the house vibrating, being right on a railroad track, and kind of the romantic notion of hearing a train off in the distance rumbling down the tracks, right? So my advice to you is when you are buying, particularly in an area, maybe a historic town or something, let's think about it. Back in colonial times when all those towns came about, everything was based on the train station. That's where all the goods got delivered. That's where you picked everything up. So around town, you didn't have cars and stuff back then. Everything kind of formed around those areas. So those historic areas are still there, and a lot of them still have working railroad tracks. So just be careful that you actually listen to a train go by, or you count the number of trains, or you call the railroad and find out if it's an active or an inactive track. Don't just believe the seller. Make sure you do your own research on that. Power lines. Oh my gosh, power lines. I'm talking about these giant, huge metal ones, and you know what I'm talking about, right? There's really only one good thing that comes out of these power line easements. One, you actually can plant a garden on those easements. You can drive an ATV back there. There's some cool stuff that you can do on the easement itself, and the government usually doesn't bother you. But that's the only upside. The downside is most buyers will stay away. So if you buy a house on a power line easement, you better get a discount. How much of a discount? Here's my take. If it's a $400,000 house without the power line easement, that house needs to be discounted 15 to 30%. Another thing that plays into it is the pole, the giant tower, is it in the back? Is it in the backyard, like super visible? Or can you just see the power lines? So that all comes to play in how big the discount is, okay? Do not buy a house unless you make your pre-approval letter personalized. What do I mean by that? Well, make your pre-approval letter personalized. That means when you go and make an offer on a house, make sure the address of that property is there. Also, make sure that it shows how much money you're approved to spend. So let's say you're buying a $400,000 house, but you're approved up to $650,000, and you're being a smart individual, financially prudent, and you're buying something that you can afford, and you don't have to worry about it. But you can afford $650,000 or $700,000, but you're only going to buy a $400,000 house. Make sure you put that high number on there. Why? As a seller, I'm looking at that pre-approval letter and I'm like, well, wait a minute, they're approved for way more than my house is worth. They must be more. That tells me, one, they're probably financially prudent. Number 2, they're not living in a lifestyle above their means necessarily. I'm making all of these assumptions based on that, seeing that number. And all of those assumptions are good assumptions for you as a home buyer. The second thing, now this is a huge gold bomb. Nobody talks about this and nobody offers it as a strategy. If you have a super high credit score, put that credit score on your pre-approval letter, or better yet, print off a copy of your credit report, cross off any, account numbers, anything like that that could be on there, and send that with your pre-approval letter and your contract. And so if you got a 780, 800 credit score and you're approved for way more than you're trying to buy, that's a home seller's dream right there. And they're going to look at that and go, oh my gosh, this person's probably not going to back out of our contract. I know for certain they're going to qualify for a loan. Look at their credit score. They pay their bills. They live below their means. All this stuff, right? And that is going to make a huge difference for you. Okay. All right. Number 3, this one's going to generate a lot of controversy. So I put the pre-approval letter first so that the gold bombs from that would give me some credibility with you. And now let me go in and bring the controversy. Don't put too much money down. Now, I know that's going to bug a lot of people, particularly the folks that follow Dave Ramsey and those folks. And listen, I understand the value of having a house that's paid off. I do. And the peace that it brings and all that kind of stuff. However, I'm also an investor. I'm a saver. I want to build up funds for the future. And when interest rates are below 3%, I mean, that strategy, I don't know. I don't know. I'd love for you guys to comment below and let me know what you think. I have a friend last week who purchased a home and he purchased at 1.99%. So listen, if you're going to put 20% down on a house, you will get those lower rates for sure. But if you only put 10% down, maybe the rate goes up by, I don't know, 1/10 of a point, 1/8 of a point, whatever. And you take the rest of that money and put it in a long-term mutual fund, or you maybe invest with a partner and buy a rental property or whatever it is, right? Take your money and let that money go to work for you. When you put money into a house as a down payment, it's like those days when we were kids and we saved up with a piggy bank. Parents give us a piggy bank. And you ever notice how hard it is to get the plug out of that piggy bank the first time? Really hard, right? It's hard to break in there. So you're borrowing your dad's screwdriver and you're clamping down on it to get the coins to fall out. So you can go buy candy or whatever it was as kids. Well, same thing here. That house is a piggy bank. Unfortunately, though, there's no real plug on it. The only way you're able to leverage that equity is either to go later and get a home equity line of credit or something to that effect, which you certainly can do. Okay, there's lots of different strategies around that. I'm just saying, in an interest rate environment that's so low, why would you put your money into the house? Again, controversial topic. Please comment below. I want to hear everybody's input on this one. All right. And number 5, the last thing, make sure, do not buy a house. Do not buy a house unless you check the police blotter and you check the sex offender registry. Every state has one. Every municipality has a police blotter. It's really important that you go in and see what's going on in that neighborhood. That neighborhood may look perfectly fine and it may not be, right? That neighborhood might look perfectly pristine and you have someone that's registered on the sex offender registry, 3 doors down. Listen, other people are checking. You need to check. And this is something that realtors really don't talk about all that much, but it's in almost every realtor contract. It says you need to check it out. Make sure you do that. Okay, and now I'm going to leave you with this 6th one. You only signed up for 5. And I'm hoping you get value out of this. But before I give you the 6th one, please subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up button and share with other people that might be looking to buy a house today. All right, number 6, if I'm laying on my deathbed and I've been in real estate 50 years, and someone asks me, what's the most important thing you've learned in real estate? And I can only utter 3 words. I'm going to utter these 3 words. Backyards sell houses, period. You can take 2 houses and they can be identical, completely identical. What's going to be the differentiator from those houses? And I mean, when I say identical schools, identical layout, identical floor plan, identical colors, identical. The differentiator is always going to be the backyard. What kind of backyard does it have? And I'm not saying it has to be perfectly level and look like a golf course, unless that's what you want. It could be a cabin in the mountains. One has a view, one doesn't have a view, but they're exactly the same otherwise. Which one's going to sell faster, quicker, for more money? Always the one with the better backyard. So there you go. There's your bonuses for today. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Hey guys, I almost forgot. I hardly ever wear a t-shirt on these broadcasts. However, today I did, because my daughter gave me a really cool present for Christmas, and it's middle of January, and I finally got it. You ready? Check this out. If you're a Mandalorian fan, give me a thumbs up. All right. Have a great day.